Hello guys. So today I just want to make a short, well, not short. I'm going to make a rather long video. This is going to be a reply to a video of Daniel Owen. His video is called "Quit YouTube or Quit Teaching." Daniel Owen is a YouTuber that started speaking about technology things, basically around the pandemic time. So he started posting videos when I was still in Japan. For example, I have now moved to a different country. So he posted this very interesting video, which I think fully reveals what is going on in the tech media, like the tech YouTube, all that business, which in my opinion is getting a little sick and a little too self-aware. Like I don't know how to say it, like a bit arrogant in a certain way. So of course the people themselves are not to blame. Is just the way YouTube works. It wants you to keep uh, keep chasing the thrill of getting more and more views, which in turn is damaging what used to be the tech space. So I want to talk a little bit about this video and sort of a reply to him. So for my own background, I'm also a teacher, just of a different kind. I believe Daniel here is a teacher in high school. I am a teacher in university, so it's a bit different, but I can sort of relate to what he's saying, basically because I'm also a teacher. So let's hear what Daniel has to say here.
Recently found myself writing emails back and forth arguing about the finer points of a toothbrush advertisement. And I just canceled the toothbrush advertisement and in general was getting a little bit down on the whole YouTube thing. Now my subscriber count is still going up, views are still fine. In fact, I just filed taxes for last year and I did finally make more money on YouTube than I did teaching. So a lot of people, including my students, who by now the vast majority of them are aware of my channel, not many of them actually watch it on a regular basis because they're not into computers, but they are curious. Mr. Owen, are you gonna like quit teaching? Are you going to go YouTube full time? And other people who find out about the YouTube channel and all that, they want to know the same thing. I see comments on the YouTube channel. Hey, are you going to quit teaching? Are you going full time on YouTube? And honestly, I had thought that as the end of this school year kind of winds down, as I did taxes for the last year, looking at all the various income streams that come with the YouTube channel, because it's not just the built-in YouTube advertising. Look at, okay, how did it do compared to teaching? All of that. That I'd finally come to make a decision, and I was getting.
So okay, so first of all, um, I only watched. I like when I started to watch Daniel's videos, he seemed to be very down to earth, just like a normal hobby person who just wants to share about the experiences he's having, the thoughts he's having about certain pieces of news. I was not aware that now he's doing sponsored videos, but to be honest, why are you talking about a toothbrush on a tech channel? You know, like if I'm going to watch something about NVIDIA or AMD or GeForce or whatever, why should we listen to a toothbrush advertisement? And then the other thing is, Daniel seems very stressed about the growth of his channel, which now is 180,000 subscribers, which is actually quite astronomical compared to a lot of people. But he seems very stressed about it, and he's seriously considering quitting his job over it. Now, I think I think it's not a good idea to quit a teaching job for YouTube, especially if you're doing the tech stuff, because right now there's no growth in the tech space. There's basically no growth. The growth is done. Like maybe if you came like 5 or 7 years ago, there was some growth, But the issue is that people don't care anymore. People just don't care anymore because number one, there is no competition in the market. Like there's nothing interesting to talk about. The GPU market is already fixed. You know, NVIDIA won. NVIDIA has the stronghold on everything. If you want to play anything with new technologies, you need NVIDIA. Let's be honest. Ray tracing just doesn't run well on AMD, and there's a lot of weird, strange bugs on AMD where if like for example, if I had to recommend a GPU to my friends, I'm not going to recommend AMD anymore. I used to recommend AMD before because they offer good prices, but as I myself kept using them and finding issues with old games, it's just there's no point. So so the reply here is there is no growth in the tech space anymore. I do not think you should quit your day job for doing the tech stuff. I mean, it's not. There's no point to it, in my opinion. But it doesn't mean you should quit YouTube. Like, you don't need to think about quit YouTube or quit teaching. Why should you quit both? Just keep doing it as a hobby.
Really stressed out. It was not fun. I I was like kind of waffling back and forth every single day, and it was just always on the back of my mind. And you know what? In general, there's a bit of an unhealthy thing about YouTube in general. Can I show you guys? Like, if you don't post on YouTube, you might not know that this is what a YouTube creator sees when they log into their YouTube channel. You see a similar thing on your phone. This is what the browser version looks like on a desktop. You see your most recent video, and you see how it's done ranked by views out of your last 10 videos compared to the other ones. And you can see that this video I did here was 10th out of 10. So that's not like 10 out of 10, great job. That's like, wow, this was bad. And if you hover over that,
You still got like 18,000 views on just comparing a 7600 to a 4060, which is actually not bad at all. Because, like, how much different can they be? You know? Like, it's not like in the old days where the AMD drivers were so poorly made that you would get huge performance increases, or where DirectX 12 was new, and when a new game with using DirectX 12 dropped, suddenly the CPU advantage of AMD would show, and their graphics cards would suddenly be doing better. Like you still, I mean, there is really no difference. Like the performance is more or less set in stone, which is a good thing, by the way. I do not believe that we should be hoping for fine wine, because fine wine is a sign of the drivers not being polished. But you still got 18,000 views on a video comparing a 7600 and a 4060. So if you're trying to constantly just keep a linear increase, like a linear function or exponential, if what you really want is exponential growth, I mean, comparing a 7600 and a 4060 is not going to do it, because who is buying graphics cards now? Nobody's buying graphics cards now.
then shows it within the same time period. So this was 2 days and 5 hours after publishing this video. You can see how the other 9 of my most recent 10 videos, how many views they had received in that amount of time. And I want you guys to, don't even think about the specifics of this right now. I want you guys to imagine that you show up to work every day, and at the end of the day, imagine your boss has an evaluation meeting with you every single day. And you know what? You can even check it throughout the day, all the time. Your boss is just always there and is always grading you, giving you like a numeric value of how well you're doing today. And that's what YouTube does. Like, I mean, I get that the YouTube algorithm isn't your boss if you're a YouTube creator, but it is, that's how it feels. You feel like you are getting a numeric evaluation of how you're doing every single time you log into YouTube Studio. And guys, this does a weird thing to you mentally. When you post the video too, if you get like first out of 10, there's little firework things that go off. It feels very I don't know, like weirdly manipulative and unhealthy to be constantly under evaluation.
To be honest, in a lot of real jobs, you're constantly under evaluation. Uh, like even as a teacher, your students are constantly thinking about how well you did that day. Like really, I mean, if you teach a bad class, they're going to notice. So I mean, every single job evaluates you every day. Now, here's the thing: why do you look at the numbers every day? It sounds a little bit like you have you are too obsessed with the growth and you're looking at the numbers every day, which is unhealthy. But it's not the platform that is unhealthy. I think it's your habit that is unhealthy. And well, to be honest, yeah, we're all under evaluation all the time. Even working in universities, you're under evaluation all the time. It's even worse because technically, if you're doing research, nobody pushes you. You have to push yourself to do the research. So you need to evaluate yourself. And if you do not do it correctly, you could really end up not moving forward in your career. So I think this is not a YouTube problem. This is your habit problem.
I know that when I like at the end of every school year, I do have a meeting with my evaluating administrator, and at several points throughout the school year, they do observe lessons and they do give written feedback. As some of those are planned ahead of time, some of them are pop-in visits you're unaware of. But in general, you don't just have this feeling of constantly being judged with like a numeric score every minute of every day. And with the channel, it's about like graphics cards and things like that. You don't actually, I mean, like, how should I put this? There's some things you can control about how well your video is going to perform. But then there's other things that you have less control over, and there's other parts that get into like, well, how scummy do I want my titles and thumbnails to be? But in general, like the interest is higher when there's a new graphics card series coming out. For example,
This is absolutely correct. So if you plan to quit teaching for being at YouTube full time, you cannot just depend on new graphics card or new CPU launches. It's going to absolutely demolish you because you have to think that you're not just competing. That like just like you, there are so many other channels that are doing the same thing. They take the thing, they test it, they give you numbers. You have Jay's 2 cents, you have Gamers Nexus, you have TechSpot, Hardware Unboxed, and you have the biggest one, Linus Tech Tips, right? So you're competing with all of these people, and the main competition here is actually not about the reviews. The reviews is the staple, but that is not where the competition is. The competition is in the retention. So it doesn't matter how good or bad your reviews of the things are. What matters is that you're able to in between the spaces where there is no releases, like no growth, so to speak. You have to be able to build an independent audience that wants to hear what you have to say, even when there is nothing to talk about. That is the most complicated part of the tech space in YouTube.
so this is my lifetime views for the channel. Now, first of all, some people have checked my channel and been like, "Have you been doing this for like what is it, like 11 years or something?" You started in
Of
like
course not. Yeah.
no, this the account that I created, that I eventually used for this channel, has been around since 2011, but I didn't post any videos on it until the whole pandemic thing happened, and that was right here.
Right? Yep, I remember.
Anyway, you can see that views spiked, and then I actually stopped posting for
Yep,
several
I remember.
months. I had at that point decided I was probably just going to quit YouTube, because it was just, we had gone back to teaching in the classroom, and just trying to manage teaching and YouTube at the same time was just way too much, at least at that point. Now, towards the end of that school year, I did end up starting posting again, and the channel just started climbing again. But it was easier than building completely from scratch, but it was certainly a bit rough right there, right there to get back. You don't instantly start right back where you left off, if that makes sense. But I did get
It
back
makes
to it in a
sense.
few months. And then, so what is this? This is a new graphics card generation launch. So this was right when the 4000 series was about to launch, and then did launch. And I started reviewing them, doing a lot of news on the topics, and you can see the channel interest spikes. You get some new products launched a few months later, interest spikes. As we're getting into this stuff, again, this is kind of, I think the Super Series happened here that we just got. Right, so this is kind of, and then here we are right now, where there's been not as much going on. Also, I've been posting fewer videos. If I look at,
I think posting fewer videos is a good strategy. You should not. I don't think it's good to just keep posting every day for the sake of posting every day. Um, and yeah, of course, you have to remember also that the 40 series launch was well, it was it was indeed quite big, because not like you you started your channel in during a very special time in the GPU market, where like a lot of people, like for example, if you were shopping for graphics cards back when, I'm not even talking the Turing generation, but back before then, there had already been one mining boom where graphics cards were extremely expensive. I think it was maybe the Pascal generation. Like Pascal even suffered from this, and it was extremely hard to buy the card you wanted. Um, so a lot of people didn't like, if you compare the time frame between that time and the next mining boom, which was exactly when the Ampere generation appeared, a lot of people did not experience anything like that before. Like anything like, I cannot buy this product at all, man. Because when the 30 series came out, it was extremely heartbreaking for people that they just couldn't buy anything. Anything at all. You couldn't buy anything. It didn't matter if you wanted Ampere, you wanted Turing, you wanted Pascal, everything was extremely expensive, or it was not available, or it was scalped to hell. So in your channel, you had an entirely new generation of people, you know, freshly new 20 somethings that now have disposable income, and they didn't experience a mining boom, experiencing a mining boom. So when the 40 series came out, it seemed like it would, at the time it already seemed like it was already over. Actually, the mining boom was already over. I remember that was after the 3090 Ti sort of crashed and burned. So people were excited because you were going to be able to buy these now. But I want you to compare the reception of the 40 series, where you can buy them, but then some of them are very expensive, like the 4070 Ti sort of fiasco happened, and the 4060 being like not very much faster than the 3060. So like there was a lot of enthusiasm from people for having graphics cards they can buy, but then the graphics cards were more expensive than they were expecting. Even though the 40 series is great in my opinion. I mean, most of the lineup is pretty good. Like 4070 Super, 40, like the 4090 is of course a great product. It's expensive, but it's a great product. Anyway, my point is that when your channel grow at that time when it was growing, you had a lot of people with a positive mindset. Like, I want to know what this product is. I want to know as much as possible. I'm gonna watch everybody, and I'm gonna buy the ideal GPU for my computer. Because remember, a lot of people couldn't buy an Ampere GPU, so they were either using something very old or they had nothing at all. Now the issue is that the market today is very different. You know, like the growth is not there because nobody's buying anything. There are no new games, there are no new consoles. So um I don't see how you can achieve even greater growth than that.
My YouTube boss constantly evaluating me, saying, "Hey, why are your views lower than usual?" One thing they're pointing out is that in the last 28 days, which is what this kind of defaults to judging you on, I posted 13 videos, which is lower than usual. I'm usually in the 15 to 20 range. And guys, when I started the channel, when you look at this little blip here, that was the first 90 days I was on YouTube. I made 90 videos in the first 90 days I was on YouTube, which was absolutely kind of insane. But it was kind of interesting because, like I said, when you see this whole like it scores you on how you're doing every single day. Um, you post a video and you just see what happens, right? What sticks, what gets views. And part of that's titles and thumbnails, but it's also topics. So when I started this channel, the intention was for it to be tech related and somewhat gaming PC related. But I didn't intend for it to basically become a GPU review channel. That wasn't really exactly what was, the end goal. Although
So I'm sorry. So you didn't want it to become a GPU review channel. So now you go to review toothbrushes. I'm sorry, it's just a dumb joke.
that is mostly what ended up happening, but it's because you start to see what gains traction, right? What's getting more views than other videos, and you get the dopamine hits of, ooh, number one, best out of 10, I get the fireworks shoot off, and so you're kind of like, ooh, I'm gonna chase that, I'm gonna chase that, I'm gonna keep doing that, keep doing what's working, right? You get those dopamine hits, but then again, on the flip side of that, when you get it, ooh, that was the worst out of my last 10 videos happens, you're like, oh, that kind of feels terrible. But another thing I want to point out is that, like, okay, but 18,000 views is more views than I thought I would ever get on a video when I started the channel. Honestly, I didn't think I'd ever get 18,000 views on the channel total.
Like, you also have to consider that when you build a channel, like so far you concentrate a lot on the numbers. Like, you show the graph and you talk about how you feel good about scoring. Like, you're basically in competition with yourself based on what the YouTube homepage tells you. So you'll like to get higher and higher position because it feels good to have like the fireworks and the higher number. But like, you're showing all these numbers and these statistics and everything, but I don't see you talking about your community. You know, I think that the most important thing in a YouTube channel is the community, not the numbers. So if you consider, like, you have 181,000 subscribers, so if you imagine that your core community, maybe 10%, because your core community is not going to be 100% of your subscribers. Never. It's never going to be. Like, some people just subscribe because, okay, they think the channel is interesting, they're curious, but they're not going to watch every day. But if you knew right now that any video you post is going to get at least 18,000 views because your core audience is there watching it and commenting on it, does that hit you the same way now? You see, I don't see you talking about your community, which is actually a bit worrying to me that tech tubers are focusing on the numbers and not on the community, because the most important thing is the community, because all of these people talking about stuff online, not just Daniel, but they all have a real impact on what the perception of things are, and they can also introduce misinformation if they're not careful with the way they deliver their material. So I'm very worried that he focuses only on the numbers and not on the community.
And now the channel views are in the millions. I actually don't even actually know off the top of my head where the total channel views are at. But the point is that because it's always presented like this, it's always about how are you doing right now compared to what you did recently, right? No matter how well you're doing, it never feels like you've made it. I don't know how to put it that way. It always feels
It will never feel like you've made it. Like, it's not only on YouTube, it's in life in general. It will never feel like you made it. Period. I mean, that's the whole point. If you're really passionate about your career, like, you can be you can be complacent and eventually say, okay, I'm good enough with this. But if you have any semblance of passion for something, it will never feel like you made it. It will always feel like you can do something better. You can always go higher. You can always do something. So the feeling you have is natural. You will never feel like you made it, ever. I don't think even Linus feels like he made it.
so I don't know. It's like the goalpost keeps moving, if that makes sense, right? The goalposts just keep moving, and it feels weird, right? It's kind of a strange experience. So anyway, so what I'm really trying to get at in this video is my mindset when trying to make the decision of should I go full time on YouTube? Because again, I did set some criteria about what's the bare minimum I would have to reach before I would even seriously consider it. And one was I would need to at least not be taking a pay cut. And while YouTube is not guaranteed, I'm not guaranteed to do as well this year as I did last year. If last year was taken as a, as some sort of indication for what could be expected for the channel as normal, which again I don't know. Then yeah, I did at least meet that criteria.
Okay.
However, well, once it reaches that point, then I have the question of, okay, but do I actually want to do that? And that's why I kind of started talking about this whole thing, how this feels. Because when I started this YouTube channel, like I said, I never thought I'd get 18,000 views total, right? The goal was I'm very interested in PCs and technology. And I'm very interested in talking about that information with other people who care a lot about it. And as awesome as my wife is, for example, and she will, if I start talking about this stuff, try her best to smile and nod her head, she's not legitimately interested in it, right?
So what changed? Like, you described that you were very passionate about technology, about GPUs, and you wanted an outlet to talk about it. But is that really what you're doing now? Honestly, because the first, like, we are already one third of the video through, but so far I've only heard about the numbers and the growth and the ranking and something about an advertisement for toothbrushes. Like, what are we doing here? That's not your goal anymore. So what's the goal?
The idea was to have a creative outlet as well as a kind of a social outlet, I guess, maybe of talking to people who care about this same niche hobby that
So if this is supposed to be a social outlet, why are you not talking about your community?
I do, and finding other people who find it of interest. So that was the end goal. And so when I flipped to starting to think about this as a job, you realize
A
that, okay,
job?
so then when we get these bad videos, now it's going to be like, so am I going to have to start like tweaking the title and thumbnail? Am I have to make it more clickbaity? Can we talk about that, right? Notice out of my last 10 videos, the most successful one, the title is literally finally in all caps with a bunch of exclamation points and a one, okay? um, Whereas this video was just telling you what the video is. It's an RX 7600 versus an RTX 4060 tested in 2024. It's the ultimate comparison of them. I could have left out that and made it even less, exciting looking, right? But like, those titles and
I mean, you can make it look as exciting as you want, but it doesn't sound exciting to me because, like I said before, the performance doesn't change a lot. So you're comparing a video where you do some routine work, which actually you can publish like a written article with it, and people can get all the information in less than 2 minutes, versus a video where you're talking about news, which is something that, like, when you talk about news, it's a topic you can actually discuss about. But if you're comparing two GPUs that have already been compared like a million times before, what is there to talk about? What is there to discuss about? Well, look, the results didn't change. Or look, the results changed by 1%. Like, why are you comparing those two videos? I don't get it.
thumbnails are a really big deal. And like I said, like what do you want to do with those? So let's actually dive into this a little bit. Actually, I think this might be fun to look at. Some people are like wonder how much do like videos make. Well, the fact when a
It's
video
not
is
fun.
doing less well, it's obviously making less money. So in the first 2 days, the first 18,000 views. This video has made me $32 in estimated AdSense revenue off of
Dude, you made $32? Cool. But what are we doing here? What why are you showing us this? Like, what's going on? What is going on? Like, the, this is the sort of stuff I feel about where the tech YouTube is going in that direction, which is like, oh, let's talk about how the videos are performing. Why is my video of a 7600 versus a 4060 not performing well? Dude, are you mental? You still made $32, by the way, which is 32 more than any most other people who are much lower than you have ever made on comparing two GPUs, which have been compared forever already, many times before in videos.
ad plays on YouTube. Now, I didn't have a sponsored integration or anything like that on this video.
Wow.
So that's it, right? Now, making a video like this takes a massive amount of time. Running the RX 7600 through all of those benchmarks and the 4060 through all of those benchmarks, editing all of that side-by-side footage together, rendering out that video, then filming my dialogue over it. One place I save time is I don't write I don't do scripting or anything like that. So you are just getting my kind of live stream of consciousness thoughts, and that also reduces editing time and stuff. But if I did this full time, maybe I would have to edit more to try to increase the engagement percentage, view duration on the video.
How can you increase the engagement percentage on a video comparing a 7600 with a 4060? People are just going to click, look at the number, and be done with it.
Thing like that. But again, if you look at what's going on, why is this video doing worse? And you read what YouTube says, it says, the click-through rate is lower. People are less interested in this topic. So if I wanted more people to watch this video, I could have done things very differently. I could have made the title something more like, NVIDIA only produces garbage. Is AMD any better? And then, like something like that. Now, I don't know if that one would actually perform better, but we could try something like that. Like things like that, especially being negative about NVIDIA and positive about AMD in titles and thumbnails. If you actually look at how it performs in the YouTube algorithm, that
There it is. This is the entire problem with tech YouTube. You just heard it from Daniel himself. He's not a small YouTuber, and he's telling you, if you want to have more views, you should be positive towards AMD and negative towards NVIDIA. The same thing happens when you're talking about Intel versus AMD. You be negative about AMD, negative about Intel and positive about AMD. Now, listen, like the main problem I have with YouTube, like tech YouTube now, the modern tech YouTube, I'm not talking about years ago. The main problem is that if you have a lot of people who are just trying to maximize the numbers, then you're going to follow, like, you cannot compete with other people if you don't know the meta. And the meta is to be positive about AMD and be negative about NVIDIA. Period. That's the meta. He explained it in plain English right there. That's how you get more views. Now, take it as what you will, but this sounds to me like a lot of tech YouTube is going to be not very objective about things. Simply because they're chasing the numbers. They're not chasing objectivity. They're not chasing building a community. So you have to be very careful about the content you watch, the people you listen to, but it's not just about what you listen to and what your opinion, how that affects your opinion. It's actually more about, are you actually spreading this possibly incorrect information? And we are basically, in the modern times, we're at the mercy of things like YouTube, Facebook, etc. All these algorithms, which are driving people mad and addicted to the dopamine hits of getting more and more views, which in turn, if they start to follow the actual ways to get more views, which is be positive about AMD, then what does that tell you about the information you're getting from the mainstream news? What does that tell you? Like of course, I mean the mainstream tech news. I don't mean the mainstream. I don't mean the real news. I mean the tech news. What does that tell you about it? And this is just one creator who is out of dozens and hundreds of them. It's shocking, man.
tends to generate a lot more traffic, right? And then when you're speaking of like sponsorships, like, hey, the toothbrush I was going to advertise, when you're negotiating those deals, which are much more lucrative than that, I'll tell you that much. When you're negotiating those deals, a lot of it is based on the average number of views your last 10 videos are getting, especially within their first month of being published.
But does your audience care about the toothbrush? Is my question to you.
And so by posting videos like this without a dramatic title and thumbnail and things like that, this is actually significantly damaging the value of the channel. But what if
I want you to notice the choice of words here. He said it is damaging the value of the channel. He didn't say it's damaging the community of the channel. If you constantly shower people with advertisements that, number one, are not relevant to them, and if you're chasing only the min-maxing of your numbers, your statistics in YouTube, Is that actually good for your community or is it bad? Is more views, like the core concept of getting more views, is it good for your community? Is my question.
Wanted to do this video because I think it's a valuable comparison to make. I'm interested in doing it, and I think maybe, well, the audience isn't as interested in clicking this one. I still think it's valuable information to get out there, right? But doing this full time, you have to think a lot harder about, am I destroying my channel's financial viability? That all becomes a lot.
Am I destroying my channel's financial viability? What are we doing here, Daniel? Jesus, man. Like, this is. It's so far gone from sharing your joy about technology and more about how are my financials doing? How are my numbers doing? Jesus.
More important. And let's compare that to something like this video, the best of my last 10 performing videos. Whereas this one
I love the thumbnail, by the way. Good job.
is currently sitting at 53,000 views. It has made almost $200 in ad revenue. Has gained more subscribers, 69. Nice, look at that. And views are up 10% more compared to the average. And why are they up? Because more viewers are choosing to watch the video, helping to increase its reach on YouTube recommendations. In other words, this finally performs significantly better, and as you can see, makes many times the amount of money as a title and thumbnail like this. And that is just the reality of YouTube. And what's also interesting is that this video is a news roundup. These take me a few hours worth of work to put together because I have to read all of the latest news, organize my thoughts on it, but then I do shoot them live with no editing. I'm not having to run a bunch of benchmarks and things like that. So this is much more effective at just quickly generating some money without like, if you think about how many dollars.
You want to quickly generate some money? Really? I thought the point of your channel was to discuss with other people about technology and stuff.
Per hour I'm being paid for this video, if you think about it like that, right? Way more effective on this one versus the like over a dozen hours of testing and then additional hours of editing and things like that it takes to put together something like this, right? Now I will mention that videos like this, the GPU head-to-head comparisons tend to do better over time in YouTube search. And meaning that if you check back a year from now, it's very possible that this video will eventually outperform this video. Because notice that this video is after it's, the news videos, once they're a week old or so, they don't get a lot of views, right? They're kind of good when they're fresh and then they die off. Whereas
because your video has no information in it. Just imagine yourself 2 years from now, you click Daniel Owen channel and you see a video from 2 years ago which says GPU news, and then finally, like, what's the video about? There's no information about it. Meanwhile, the other video, that, as you said, has a lot more value because the other video tells you exactly what it is, and it's capturing in that moment in time what was happening between the two graphics cards, right? So, but look, you are like, do you want to like, do you want to make money quickly, right? Which I don't know. It depends on what you want to do. Do you want to make money quickly, or do you want to produce content that is always valuable? That is the question. Like, if you're just reading news articles, as you said, they're only fresh at that moment in time.
A lot of times, but not always, the head-to-head comparison videos do much better over the long term. However, again, when you're negotiating the sponsored ad segments and things like that, the value of your channel, things that you have to think about if you're going to be doing this full time, A lot of it's how did your last 10 videos perform? And they haven't had months to build up search traffic, and that's also not usually how those ads pay out. Sometimes they're a flat fee based on how did your last 10 videos perform, and again, that's kind of within the first month of publication. And then also, if sometimes you negotiate a flat rate fee for the sponsorship deals, and sometimes you negotiate a CPM rate, a cost per 1,000 views. So usually with some kind of cap, so that you can't, they don't end up paying you a crazy amount if it goes viral or something like that. But again, it's
Dude,
usually negotiated on a cost per 1,000 views basis within the first 30 days. So these videos that kind of get the long-term search traffic over time are less, I don't know, less useful for advertising.
is this a tech channel or is this an economics channel? Serious, serious question. What are we doing here?
Generating those sponsorship deals and negotiating those and all of that. So it's all very interesting stuff.
It's not.
But the thing is, when I'm doing this as a hobby that happens to also make money, cool, an extra $30, awesome, right? If I'm trying to put food on my table, I can't spend multiple days worth of like full-time work and only make $30 off of it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Yeah. This is why my opinion is that tech YouTube has no growth. Like, you really cannot hope to do this full time. And it would be a mistake to quit a career in order to just benchmark GPUs. Like, it makes no sense. And it makes no sense, especially now, because there is, like I said, one, no competition, and two, the graphics cards, when you compare them on the first day, they're not going to change. Period. We're not going, like, unless we get like DirectX 13 or whatever, or a massive change in the paradigm of everything, there's going to be no differences anymore. Everyone knows exactly where all the GPUs fall, where the more or less what the value of the things are. Like, everything is already set in stone for you. And look, even the benchmarks, like, it's not very different from what the companies already advertise. Sometimes the games themselves will benchmark the games for you, so you already know what you're gonna get when you play it. So, and then you have websites like Tech Power Up, which basically that's what they do. That's the entire point of that publication, where you have the data in a table and you can look at it in like less than a minute and know, okay, this GPU is basically between this and this, and that's it. That's it. Like people do not care about single percentage differences. Like, you have to think about the audience. If you want to capture the hardcore people, which the like the hardcore people who are very into YouTube tech, they will care about the few percent differences. But how big is that audience? Is that the audience you really want? Because the like I'm talking about the people who are into tech YouTube, into tech Reddit, tech Discords, whatever. All of these sort of three same communities are very, very toxic, in my opinion. So you can either target these, but then you also have the casual person who hears about building a computer, and maybe they're thinking, okay, maybe I want to build a computer now so I can, I don't know, play some games. The people that just want to play games don't care about single percent differences, and on the other end of the spectrum, those people are just gonna buy Nvidia anyway. As the truth of the matter, they're just gonna buy Nvidia anyway. So if you want to achieve growth, I think you have to go for the people who just want to play games. But that's just me.
Right? can't do it. Now, some videos do a lot better. Again, this news video, $200 for a few hours of work. Pretty good ratio, right? That's pretty good. But some videos are in between, and you can't guarantee how each one's going to go. And some have done way better than this one, and some have done worse than this one, right? It's all over the place. And so if I was doing this full time, I just feel like I would be constantly stressed out. And I also feel like I would be constantly forced to do more of this type of thing. And honestly, let's talk a little bit about this because, so what's my thoughts on the whole clickbait thumbnails and things like that? Well, I think I think some other YouTuber I saw this term somewhere, is legit bait versus clickbait. In other words, the difference between, I want you to still have some, I think, so the point of the title and the thumbnail, and as you can see here, it makes a massive difference in the performance of the video. Massive difference. Is, how many people will click on it. It needs to be clickable if the video is going to perform well. But I don't want people to have no idea what the video is about, right? So despite the fact that this title by itself, if it was just the word finally, in other words, if all you had to go off of was the title of this video being the word finally, then that's pretty useless. I would feel bad about that. Now, the fact that this video is one of my regular series of GPU news videos, and you can tell that from the thumbnail, if you're one of my regular viewers, you understand what you're getting at. It's a GPU news video. It's going to be a 30-minute-ish, or in this case, a 22-minute-ish roundup of the latest GPU news, right? Okay. So you understand what you're getting when you see that, despite it being very, dramatic, right? So it's okay, in my opinion, to have a dramatic title if the viewer understands what they'll be getting when they click on it, right? Now, this kind of title is not at all dramatic. It's just, here is what this video is about, right? Okay. And as you can see, performs a lot worse. Although, again, I think just in general, a lot of people are not super interested in these products right now, and I don't blame them. But again, something kind of out of your control. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is I keep trying to picture myself doing YouTube full time. And I imagine things like this, videos performing like this, really making me feel sick to my stomach. I'm not saying they do right now. Right now, I'm just like, whatever. It'll get some views and search traffic, and even if it doesn't, I had fun making it. And still, $30 extra, cool, cash in my pocket. Didn't think my channel would ever make money anyway, right? Whereas,
Okay.
if I'm doing this full time, I would feel like, okay, if I keep posting videos that do this poorly, my family will not eat, right? We won't.
Yeah, I think your concern is valid actually. If I was depending on YouTube income to live, basically, I would be very stressed out, and it's not like I understand. I feel like you are like Daniel here is very how to say, he is still very nice about it in the sense that he is trying to legitimately play the YouTube game. You know, in all his descriptions, he's always he sounds very pure-hearted in a certain way. You know, like, but I think if, for example, if you were to really quit your job and just do YouTube all the time, it will drive you crazy. And now, okay, so going back to the point of Daniel, so he is very pure about it because he's only thinking about what he can do better. Like the risk, if you notice, all the risks he is talking about is more or less already blaming himself for the possible problems. Like the choice of topic, or the editing is not good, or the title's not good, or the thumbnail's not good. But actually, that's not all in the equation. He like the extra risk you have from YouTube just changing the algorithm, or changing the rules, or just changing anything is enormous. Like just picture that some years ago you had companies like Machinima or whatever, uh, with a lot of people making videos for them and paying them. Like you have like that type of revenue stream through YouTube, and then this died, and then people started to make money from their own channels, but then YouTube started to put limits on like how and when you can monetize your channel, and changing which kinds of advertisements can run on YouTube. Like, is Coca-Cola able to run here? What your topic is about? They can demonetize you at any time. They can ban your channel at any time. Like, the risk is so great that I think it's not worth it. Just unless you're Linus Tech Tips, it's not worth it.
We won't have health insurance. We won't have a house. All of that. So, as you might be kind of getting the idea, I have decided not to go full-time YouTube at this time. I reserve the right to change my opinion in the future, right? It's possible that if there was just multiple years of the channel just continuing to perform well and make it so like, and if it started making enough money that like it's honestly just kind of silly to continue teaching, then I might give it another more serious thought. But because what it's really coming down to again is thinking about what would life like be as a full-time YouTuber versus a full-time teacher with no YouTube versus doing both. Right now I'm doing both, and I am enjoying it. However, as you can see, why are views a bit lower than usual? I've posted less videos. What I've decided to do behind the scenes, which I'm just kind of finally talking about in this video, is I've decided to not make it an either or thing. I'm going to try to continue to do both YouTube and teaching. Because for one thing, I really enjoy teaching. Like, I'm one of those crazy people out there who actually likes my job. Okay. I could have done a lot of things with my math degree. I don't talk about this a lot, but I did very well in college math. I had a 4.0 in a pure math degree. I got a cash prize at my university at graduation for being one of the most promising math graduates who for some
So I didn't know you graduated in math, so I'm math as well, but I I am a researcher now, so it's glad to see another mathematician in the tech space. Anyway, that's just a
reason decided to go into education. Anyway, so like I had a lot of opportunities I could have pursued that would have paid better than teaching when I decided to go into teaching. But I actually had a passion for going into teaching. And I'm also one of those people whose passion for it did not die when it actually encountered the realities of teaching. Because I don't know how long this video is going to be or how much rambling this is. There's no script to this like any of my videos, right? This is going to be kind of rambling, but some thoughts on teaching, okay? Teaching, I think people get burnt out on teaching if, especially when, I mean, there's lots of reasons, but because maybe let's go into burnout, right? YouTube burnout, there's also teaching burnout. These are both jobs with a lot of burnout, right? And I'm the crazy guy trying to do both at the same time, and I have a family. Anyway, with teaching, I think a lot of people burn out because they might be passionate about the subject, but they're not passionate about teaching the students, the reality of that. Because while it's good to actually like the subject that you teach and be good at the subject you teach, I think that's actually a secondary concern. What you should want to do if you want to teach, at least if you're teaching high school, that's what I have experience with, is you should actually want to help high school students navigate a difficult time in their life at a point when their emotional maturity is not in a place where they are likely to demonstrate thanks on a regular basis or compassion or anything for, the teacher trying to help them out through that, right? But like in general, I want to help people. I want to teach people. I enjoy doing that. I understand where students are coming from when their life sucks, and so they take that out on school.
actually I'm very happy to hear that you like teaching. Now I am I'm focusing on career because my sorry, on research, because my career path is uh, taking me through the research path at the moment. But I used to teach at the university level in Mexico, and I did this for like 4 years. And I would teach people who just entered from high school, so they were also quite a bit confused about, is this really the career for me type of deal. And actually, you're 100% correct. Teaching is actually a lot about the people, and of course the material is important. You have to make sure that they at least learn the most helpful things going forward in whatever they're going to do. Now, for you in high school is maybe a little bit more complicated. Like if you're teaching the people who are going to college, because what is the most useful things, well, it's sort of chosen for you in a little sense by the school, but also you have to prioritize, like it's difficult. In the university, however, for me, I basically experienced life myself as a bachelor student, so I already knew which things were most helpful to me. So I focused on making sure that the students would have at least be stronger in the things which I considered most important. And of course, uh, the second most important thing about teaching, at least math, is showing the students that math is not scary. And the way you do that is by making sure that the students, like when the students give you an idea of how to solve a problem, oftentimes their idea is not wrong, but some teachers that are very fixated on wanting to force the students to solve problems only in one way, right? They will sort of discourage them from having these sort of external thoughts, like thinking out of the box. I specifically wanted not to do that. So if a student gave me an idea, and maybe it was not entirely correct, but I would take that idea and see where it led. And when those ideas did not give us a solution, the student would understand, okay, my thought was not correct this time, but they understood why it was not correct. But in the event that the idea did lead to a solution, it would be great for the students because they start to gain confidence in their abilities to solve math problems. Anyway, what I want to tell you here is that you should use the same passion you have for teaching and put it in your YouTube videos. And I think the very reason your GPU news videos are doing good, like it's not just about the news themselves. It's because of the way you explain things, because you have that native talent to explain things. This is what, because you enjoy teaching, which means you enjoy explaining things to people. So I think you need to find the middle ground between, you know, the data stuff and the GPU news stuff. Find the middle ground, which is combining your ability for teaching and then build your community. But I think you need to build a community the same way you build a classroom. And I'm sure you understand exactly what I mean by building a classroom.
And I think it's nice to try to provide a good experience for them in the midst of all of that. And I'm actually very passionate about that. Um, and so the thought of going full time on YouTube is giving all of that up, right? But I still also very much enjoy YouTube. And like I said, there's a lot of burnout on YouTube with all of this crap I'm talking about, right? How you're just constantly being, speak about constantly being judged. Yeah, teenagers are judgmental, but how about the YouTube algorithm, man? Anyway, um, but again, I think one thing that I'm finding this weird thing where by doing both, they're actually both kind of giving me a chance to switch gears, because teaching is a job where you could constantly find more work to do. But by also running the YouTube channel, it gives me it lets me give myself permission to stop working on and thinking about school stuff when I leave the school building.
Okay.
And
Makes
vice
sense.
versa. I think if I was doing YouTube full time, I would just be
You
constantly
will go crazy.
obsessing over these analytics. And I would be spending 10 times.
You're already obsessing over the analytics and you're not even full time. So, absolutely. And is it unhealthy? Yes. I think even now you need to step back from the analytics, and instead of focusing on that, you should focus on the community.
Times as long on all of my videos and the editing and the titles and the thumbnails and all of that for probably like not making them 10 times better, if that makes sense, right? But I'd be constantly obsessing over that and be like emotionally crushed when it doesn't go well, things like that. But doing both, it kind of lets me, like I said, shift my gears, gives me permission to focus on something else for a while. And with the YouTube stuff, again, I can focus on that for a while. And if one of my videos doesn't perform well, fine, I'm gonna go teach. That's my real job.
Yeah.
Okay, even if it didn't make me as much money last year. um, so that's it's kind of nice. They both kind of put each other in check on how much of my total time and life and focus and anxiety they can each maintain, right? Because I can't be focused on both at the same time, which allows me to shift gears. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And also, I shut down all of it for a huge chunk of the day when my kids get home from school, and I can give them attention until they go to bed, right? So it allows me to kind of break my life up into different chunks, shift
Mhm.
gears. I'm passionate about doing both things, but again, I think YouTube right now for me this is fun, and I don't know if I want my hobby to become my career because I don't think it would be fun anymore. I just know my personality. I think
First of all, I think what you mentioned about your hobby turning into your career not being fun, I think this is a very, very uh, hard problem. And it's a problem I was faced with even a few times because I had the opportunity to have different careers, programming video games or working with certain people. Um, but ultimately, one chooses, I think one has to really think about what you're good at, where you see there is potential for growth, like big growth, and where you feel you have the most impact on anything. You can even think about impact on the world or whatever. So I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you shouldn't make like at least for me, my for myself, making my job my hobby is too stressful because hobby is supposed to bring you joy and it is supposed to be your own space. But when you make your own space your job, you're sort of already, you know, having to set a price on what you're doing, which is kind of weird. Now, on the other hand, I want to ask you, Daniel, I mean, you talk about all these GPUs and comparing them, and you spend dozens of hours running these numbers and, reading all these news and whatever. So here's the thing: you're comparing GPUs in games and reading news about GPUs about how they're going to perform in games. This is fine, but do you actually play games, Daniel? Like, do you still play games? Like, do you spend more time testing cards than playing games? That because if that is the case, then it's hard to recommend something just on, for example, if you're just talking about average frame rates or 1% lows or whatever, it's not reflective of the whole experience of just having a normal system. uh every computer has bloat, and eventually has some bloat, so just the normal desktop experience of buying and playing games, it's very important, and I think people find that valuable. Just food for thought, like, because if you're very into technology, I do not think testing GPUs is your hobby. I think your hobby should have been, I want the GPU because I like games, you know which means that, is this really your hobby, or has it become your, I don't know, status quo? I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think I would obsess over it too much. I would obsess over the analytics too much. I would uh, just like I said, not have fun with it anymore. So currently, I enjoy everything that I'm doing, other than the fact that I really don't sleep enough. How do I manage to do the YouTube stuff? I get up before everybody else in my family, and oftentimes I stay up later than everyone else in my family. I also get home from work before they do, and then I work on that a bit there. And then there's times on the weekends when the kids' grandparents come over to visit and things like that, where I can kind of sneak off and work on the YouTube stuff. And there are certain days where like new graphics cards are coming out where I do just have to block off a chunk of time from family, or maybe even take a personal day off of work, something like that, and just get a whole bunch of benchmarking done. But anyway, right now I am making both things work at the same time, and I want to continue to do that. So I think that's.
Well, I mean, as long as you enjoy what you're doing, it is fine. But it's also important not to do it because you're addicted to the seeing the number grow, you know and because if you think about it, you can also take time off to play video games, or take time off to go on vacation, or take time off to, I don't know, do something with your friends, or I mean, it's not just that you're giving up on, like like you chose to benchmark the 7600 against the 4060 for dozens of hours, as you said, versus, for example, I don't know, playing some games and giving your thoughts about it, or maybe even just taking time off for yourself. So I think my question here is, what's the goal? Yeah, what's the goal in all this?
It's we're hitting on almost 30 minutes now on the video, so I think that's where I'm probably going to leave it. I don't think I had.
All right, so I'm going to leave it here as well because mine is already like an hour. So yeah, so I think the video Daniel produced here is extremely indicative about what is going on in the tech YouTube space. Like, Daniel is just a very you know he's a very honest person to put up this video and not edit his thoughts, just give you the raw thoughts of what is going on in the mindset of people doing tech YouTube. But you can see, like, someone like him who used to be, very positive and upbeat, and just doing it for the sake of being a hobby, how YouTube transforms that passion into something else. And what I see here is a very stressed person trying to chase the thrill of more and more numbers and higher, I don't know, subscriber numbers. Like, he said he wanted to have an outlet to talk to people, but in all these 30 minutes, I never once heard anything about the community, about his audience, about talking to people. So it makes me wonder, what really is the goal here. And if most of the tech media on YouTube is only chasing the high numbers, you really have to think about what exactly are they telling us when they review products or they recommend products. Like, do they even use the products? Why are they selling me this? So this is why I start to veer off of tech YouTube. Like, I'm done with it. It's just, I don't know, man. We have we are so far off course now that it's just I don't follow anything anymore. I don't follow any tech YouTube, and I wouldn't recommend anyone to follow any tech YouTube anymore. It's done. It's absolutely done. Just buy whatever works for you. Make your own decision. Do not let tech media, tech YouTube, mainstream tech publications tell you what your opinion should be. Do not let them tell you that you should be angry at Intel or NVIDIA for X or Y thing. It makes no sense, man. Just buy what you need and play games. Do not even look at the numbers. Do not install Afterburner. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's done. I mean, the community is way too toxic. It's way too weird. I just, it's done, man. But those are my honest thoughts. I just wanted to. I saw this video of Daniel, and I thought it was the perfect opportunity because his video is the most valuable tech video I have ever seen so far in months. So I just wanted to put my own thoughts over it. I'm not sure if it's interesting to anybody, but hey, here we are. Anyway, talk to you later, guys. I'm sorry for the long video. That's all from me. Bye bye.